What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily podcast powered by Anijar and Levine Accident Attorneys. I'd say it's a victory Monday. We didn't play, but FSU lost. Their fans are crying, so that's a victory to me. Hopefully, will be duplicated this Saturday with even more tears coming down the road. Got a lot to talk about. Recruiting is hot and heavy. This was a bye week, but it was a work week for the coaching staff, not only with the team, but also recruiting. So a lot of updates to give you. I have the latest episode of The Bank ready to drop, the most exclusive insight when it comes to recruiting anywhere in the world. Got Pete on. He'll be talking about some of the same stuff he's hearing. He's got his Discord with the work where he's breaking all this down. So we'll get into that. I posted my top 5 teams from right now, just my personal power rankings on CanesInsight. So we'll have some fun with that, get our own personal top 5s in there, see what the chat's thinking. And then, of course, it's the beginning of FSU week, so we're going to have some FSU talk. We're going to cover this game from every single angle all week, including your thoughts and questions. It's going to be a lot of fun. First, I want to talk about some folks that are going to cover your case from every angle. That is Anijar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anijar and Levine. Pete, hop in here.
Good morning, D. Welcome back from Greece.
Yeah, man, I missed you. The wedding went off well. Shout out to Melissa and Tim, everybody that put the whole thing together. But yeah, man, I was very bummed when I realized my connection was going to be a little shaky. We got the Wednesday show off. Did a show from London on Saturday, but yeah, man, missed this. Looking forward to covering this game from every angle. We'll probably do some extra shows this week. At least I might, just because I had withdrawal. I'm missing this thing.
Yeah, and I think it was a much needed week to kind of reset a little bit and obviously take a step back. I'm sure we'll get into some general college football talk during this show, but I'm excited for the bank, man, because that's really what I want to hear, the recruiting stuff.
Yeah, by the way, you did a great job holding us down all week. So yeah, shout out to you and all the guests for keeping us going here. And of course, the chat always keeps us going. There it is, the constrictor, Peter Reeves. I don't know what you know about boa constrictors. They're non-venomous. So we need to constrict a little bit here on Saturday.
Yeah, man. They definitely, this is a game that you would expect them to be able to do that in with, the trenches advantage that I think we both believe Miami has a nice advantage there. But this is not. It's going to be a tricky one, man. I'm not to give too much away, but I'm more worried about this one, obviously, than the Florida game. But my prediction will be closer than it was for Florida. That's for sure.
Road game. It's first road game for Miami. It's going to be tough, and we'll get into the game in a second after we get through the bank. But bottom line to me is if we play with the same intensity on defense, swarming to the ball, the violence, which everyone around the country has kind of taken notice of. You hear other teams, fans, other analysts, national guys talk about Miami. One of the first things they mention is how violent we are on defense, how we swarm to the ball. I mean, that's a real thing that you can see on tape. It's not just a Miami buzzword. Miami can do that on the road in a hostile environment, which Florida State did not do when they traveled to Virginia. If we can do that on the road, I think there's going to be a blowout. I think we're way better. However, it's the first road game, so we don't know. We don't know how they're going to react on the road and whether they'll play with the same intensity and match and exceed FSU's intensity on Saturday. I think that's going to be the challenge for the coaching staff. I feel confident that they got a mature team, a tough team, and the coaching staff is going to get the most out of these guys. But we haven't seen them on the road yet, so it's all in projection for now. But let's talk recruiting here, Pete. I know you've been keeping people updated on your Discord with the work updates. So I like to let this thing sit a little bit and then get the real update when everybody comes back and we have reports, people saw games, et cetera, and I could really kind of get into what the current state of affairs is as we sit here Monday, September 29th. So this is the latest on the class of 2026, and I'm going to go position by position. Pete, go ahead and pull some highlights here in a second when we talk about some of these guys, particularly receiver, because I want the people to see what we're talking about. But starting at quarterback, all set. Darian Coleman, Orlando, solid commit. Don't expect him to go anywhere. Don't expect Miami to go anywhere. This is a guy Miami feels very, very good about, and he's having a very, very good senior year. Big picture, actually, Pete, while you're pulling up, and I pull up maybe some of the receivers we talked about before the show, but big picture, here's what I think Miami's doing right now. Here's what I know Miami's doing right now is Miami has realized, both through their own studies, through their experience, you see national people do similar studies, is that there's a high correlation between senior year production and what they do in college and ultimately get into the NFL. That sounds obvious, right? But with the calendar getting further and further back in terms of guys committing earlier, visiting officially in the summer before their senior year, you're going to see a lot of guys in classes that might not have good senior seasons, or that might have senior seasons that are better than the teams that they're currently committed to. So I think it is very important to put an emphasis, and Miami's doing this, on senior years. Are they getting better? Are they making a jump? Are they staying the same, basically like, hey, these guys are on track with what we thought they were? Or are they worse than maybe we thought they were? Those are all very important factors. If you got a commit that's on track, great, he's on track. If you got a commit that's playing better, or someone else is playing better, making a lead better than you thought, okay, maybe we should go get this guy. And if someone's playing worse, then maybe we could drop this guy off the board. We don't have to worry about him anymore. So this is a very, very important process. That's number one. Another big picture thing with this recruiting philosophy is you look at Miami. Miami right now has two things going for it. They have a very good culture. We talked about the way they run to the ball, the way they play physical for 4 quarters, their intensity, good kids, competitive kids, tough kids. They want to keep that culture, and they want to get guys who, like I mentioned earlier, having good senior years, tough guys that are going to fit into what they're trying to do, just good, solid football players. You also see the impact of a Ruben Bain, right? A true blue chip player, a Malinoa, right? These true blue chip elite players make a big difference. I mean, it's common sense, but like, those are the guys you got to have. You got to have the elite blue chip difference making players at key positions, and you have to have a solid foundation. So I think Miami's recruiting formula really matches that. And what I mean by that is they know that there's certain elite blue chip players, both in high school and what eventually will come down in the portal, top of the class kind of guys that are going to cost a lot of investment, let's say, but are real difference makers. You know, I mean, how much is too much for a Ruben Bain? He's the best player in the country. You know, Jeremiah Smith, right? So I think Miami's realizing that those guys are of the highest priority in terms of investment. But the rest of the class, you want to make sure you're getting solid players that are going to good players that are going to help you win and build the team that plays the way it's supposed to play. You know, as opposed to, I'll just use an example, like a Zaquan Patterson. And this is not their example, this is my example. Zaquan Patterson was somebody who cost a lot. He was a high investment player. The off the field stuff was not where it needed to be. And you really got nothing from him. Now, if I'm putting my hat on, again, this is not something that was told to me or an example was told to me. This is an example I'm using based on what I know. If I could have taken the amount that we gave Zaquan Patterson and put it on top of whatever Jeremiah Smith wanted, what's a better investment, right? And it's easy to say, okay, well, we know now how it turned out. That's kind of retrospect. But at the same time, you knew Jeremiah Smith in high school was not only elite physically, but elite mentally, and was an impact guy, a needle-moving type of player. So to me, I think when you talk about budget, you know, there's a budget, even without the salary cap, that's still in flux. Everybody doesn't have an unlimited amount of money. People have to make decisions, and that's everywhere. The top 5 teams like Miami all the way down. I think it makes sense is, hey, who are the true difference makers at difference-making positions, whether high school or the portal, that are going to be the jerseys that they sell at the Miami Hurricane team store? And then who are the guys that are trending up, having really good senior years, good size, good athleticism, do the right things off the field? They're going to build the foundation of our team and our culture. And can we get a lot of those guys and catch them on the way up? So I think that's generally the theme of this class, of this evaluation strategy, of what you're going to see in the portal. Especially as the portal, you know, this because our roster's gotten progressively better, you don't need to just plug a million holes like you did when they first got here in 2022. You can be more selective in the portal, getting elite guys. And then, of course, recruiting, you always want elite guys. Using the class of 23 as an example. A lot of those guys didn't make it, but you also got Bain, Mao, Noah, Fletcher. Those are the stars of your team. So big picture, that's where I think this is heading. And I just wanted to, before we get to the team, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Pete. That to me is how I think this is being set up.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, you said something that's important, but it also highlights kind of why you're saying what you're saying, which is you say, how much is too much for a Ruben Bain? And my answer would be, until it becomes harder to build out your roster. And if you aren't bringing in good, well-evaluated prospects who, quite frankly, let's stop beating around the bush. What does that mean? Well, well-evaluated prospects means that you're not probably paying for that player in terms of the NIL investment what you hope to get on the return in terms of the production. And, these deals change over time, but that's what we're talking about here, right? Can you build out a roster outside of your top paid guys who are getting millions of dollars a year, $1 million+ a year? Can you build out the depth around them? And I think what we've seen so far is that this staff has done a solid job doing that while also using the portal. We have to say that the portal has been obviously very supplementary in this process, complementary, supplemental, whole bunch of different words there. But that's what it's been, that added lifeline. Like you said, I don't think they're going to need to do that this year, but that's where these well-evaluated prospects, you need to hit on them, because that's the only way that you're gonna survive this thing. This isn't a Miami problem. Like you said, yes, a Texas has an unlimited war chest almost, but there's still an element of building out a roster that needs to happen there that is really going to shape the future of college football. And that's what a lot of these evaluations come down to. So it sounds like D, and we've talked a little bit. I think a lot of the info that we're getting is, kind of crossing paths here, and there's going to be some movement here at the end of the class here, like you've alluded to.
Yeah, 100%. Tyler saying, Canes won the title of the year. I was born. Good news, fellas. My wife just had our first son this year, so we're in good shape to have history repeat itself. Congrats, Tyler. But yeah, Pete, I think you said it very well there as far as the way this roster is being built out. And look, we could talk about it, but now you've seen how it looks. And you've seen our roster. Nick Saban said we had the most complete roster in America, most complete team in America through however many games. And I'm just using him as an example of a national guy. So clearly these guys know how to evaluate. They know what they need to do. And I think this is a star sport. I mean, you need the elite players. And what I'm saying is not different than that. I'm actually emphasizing that. We need elite players. And the elite player means Francis Mauigoa. Elite player means Ruben Bain, right? Jeremiah Smith. So you need elite guys. And I think this is a smart strategy to say, okay, we're going to identify elite players, and we're going to make aggressive runs at them. And then we're also going to find rising players. Because let's say you got to commit that was like, and just using an example, let's say you got to commit that was a top 100, maybe a latter half of the top 100 player, top 150 player. Makes your ranking look good. Then you watch his senior film and you're like, I don't know. Or he's not a committee, just someone that you're recruiting, and he's still available to get. Then you watch a senior film, you're like, this is not as good as a junior film. Is that the type of, even though that's not going to cost as much as the top 10 player, is that even worth spending the money in that direction? It's going to help your overall rating. But to me, I would rather say, hey, man, if I got this guy circled, underlined, no doubt, star, he looks the part, he plays the part, he tests the part, he carries himself like a professional. You can't, it's hard to overpay those guys. That's what I'm trying to say. Whereas it's easy to burn money on players that make your recruiting ranking look good, but really aren't what you need. So I think that, to me, the good PSL Canes, I think, summed it up real good here. Elite culture and allocate funds with intent. That's a good way to say it. Allocate funds with intent. So with all that said, because I wanted to get through that, here we talked about Darian Coleman. That's said. Offensive line. Perfect example of what we're talking about. You start with Jackson Cantwell. Jackson Cantwell is the number 1 player in the country. Jackson Cantwell is a physical freak of nature with his power and strength at his size. You're not going to find guys that had those kind of traits when it comes to power because they don't exist. He is probably the best thrower that's ever been in the high school level for America, or at least top 3, and he translates that to the field. So that would be an example of somebody who has difference-making ability, and you feel good about the character, you feel good about all that other stuff. Okay, Miami visited him this weekend. I heard he looked like the freak he is, and that one is solid. I think Miami in general is extremely happy with their offensive line class. Cantwell is a freak of nature and getting better and better, always working on his craft. Probably the best power we've had since I can't remember on the offensive side. We've seen Ruben Bain's power on the defensive side. I can't remember the last guy with this kind of power on the offensive side. The closest comp would be Francis Mauigoa, who started as a freshman. Francis might be healthier. Or sorry, I'm reading the comments. Francis might be more athletic because Cantwell's healthy. Sorry, I was literally just reading the comments and got my mind messed up. Cantwell might not be as athletic as Mauigoa running around, but I think power-wise, and Mauigoa has sick power. I think Cantwell might be in a league of his own there. Both really conscientious, hardworking, good kids. So those guys are studs. Joel Irvin, everyone knows how I feel about him, monster. Ben Cogden, everyone knows how I feel about him, monster. I think this class is solid. I would say because Miami is proven to be the elite offensive line program in the country, both with the guys who are put in the draft this year, with what Cantwell means to the class, with what we see on film. If an elite offensive lineman, for whatever reason, came loose and said, hey, I want to be in Miami, I think Miami would be receptive to that because they're at such a high level on the offensive line that if something happened at your school, a coaching change, this is college football. People always come loose. And you're an elite player, Miami makes sense at that position. So I think Miami would consider elite players, but basically this class is done. And Miami feels very, very good about the offensive line. I think that, Pete, you're very familiar with Miami's offensive line recruiting. You mentioned Cannon Pickett had an injury that he's going to have to rehab from, but he's going to stay in the class and he'll be a good player with time. I think Miami's just ecstatic with their offensive line class.
Yeah, I think, like you said, if there's an elite talent who wants in the class, you don't say no to that. But if signing day was today, they wouldn't be scrambling to go pick someone up, at the end of the class here.
Yep, and like the senior film looks good on these guys. Tight end, I think you're looking at Izzy Briggs over in California, in the Visalia, California area, right there near the Sierra Nevada of California. He's playing really, really well. High-level athlete, high-level talent. Very excited about what Isaiah Briggs brings to the table as that. He really plays everything for his high school teams. He plays kick returner. He's running around, catching the ball. He's got tremendous speed. He plays defense. He's just a really, really talented ball player. This Miami is going to, at some point, add another tight end to this equation. One name that I would circle as somebody who I think has a very, very good chance to be in this class, not only because he's a big target, but because he has a lot of interest in the program. And he just recently reclassified to the class of 2026. He's visited the program multiple times. That is Luke Brewer from Norwalk, Iowa, which I believe is close to Des Moines. Let me just check out exactly where this is, where Norwalk, Iowa is. I believe, it's part of the Des Moines metropolitan area. So it's Iowa, but it's not like he grew up on a farm. Maybe he did, I don't know. But this is not like the middle of nowhere. This is near a city, and he's got an affinity for Miami. He's visited multiple times. Obviously understands that we use the tight ends. Iowa wants him. Iowa State wants him. He reclassified.
Hold on. If he was reading the comments, you wouldn't think that the tight end gets used very much in Miami.
Well, listen, I see Elijah Arroyo getting drafted pretty high here, and I think you'll see some more tight end use as the season goes on. But this is a guy who can block and he can catch. I asked, I was like, is this guy? And what we're watching now is highlights from what it was his sophomore year before he reclassified. So I guess now would be like the equivalent of his junior year, but he's since reclassified. So I heard his junior year, which I'm trying to get a hold of. I haven't seen it. I don't know if you've been able to find it. I heard his junior year's film is like sick, which is like going to be a senior year. Basically, this year's film looks really good. But you see this guy who can block. But I said, I'm like, yeah, is he kind of your inline blocker? They're like, this guy's everything. He's not somebody who is like a Cam McCormick, who's very valuable as a blocker, less valuable as a receiver. This is someone who can block, who can run routes, who can get in and out of breaks, who catches the ball with his hands, plays basketball. They're really, really excited about what this guy brings to the table. Here you see him lined up at receiver. Nice little route there. Hands catch. Gets upfield. They're really, really excited about this guy. They think he's a stud. He's visited multiple times. If you're asking commit watch, you guys who could be joining the class sooner than later, this is someone who's getting recruited by Iowa State. So the Midwest schools are after him. This is not a layup, but I think we got a good chance of getting Luke Brewer in this class. So I'd put him.
I saw Notre Dame and Oregon offered early as well. It seems like, when he reclassified, some of these schools that had initially offered, obviously maybe had other plans for this class. So kind of changes the recruitment a little bit there, but good on Miami being opportunistic on that one. Yeah,
really, really good player here at tight end. He'll be in that 250, 255 range when it's all said and done. Good compliment to Isaiah Briggs, who again is having a really, really good season. Another guy I wanted to highlight is our favorite player. I mean, how many times we talked about this guy, Hezi Kent, right? So Hezi Kent, the 300-pound monster. And have you seen his film from this weekend?
No, I haven't.
Let's pull this up because he was playing defense and was like completely. Oh, here we go. There's a senior. You got a senior film up. All right, let's see. I can pull this up here against Glenn Academy.
I have it here. I have it here.
Can we get somebody from Glenn Academy?
Yeah, that's DJ Dallas and Zalante Hillary.
There you go, Pete. Look at that, man. What a memory. That was like right before you went to the agent world. And you still remember all those names. Shout out to you.
No, that was
17.
Well before that.
Oh, you were 19 when you switched.
Yeah, I was 2 years before, so I was still well around.
Yeah, this was let's see here. So Hezi Kent, I haven't watched this yet, so we'll see what he's doing. But he's someone who's been playing offense, defense, tight end, all of the above. Is he gonna moss somebody? Look at this guy. What? Pete, man, we got to get this guy. Look at this. Look how far downfield he's getting. This is a 300-pound. There he is right there. Look at the big boy there in the flat. This is a 300-pounder easily. There you see him blocking a corner mismatch there. He's been playing some defense as well. I guess it was the other game where he played defense, but he's somebody who has that versatility where as an inline tight end, he's the same size as the offensive lineman. He can catch the ball. He can make guys miss. He's a great athlete. Plays wildcat, does it all. And then if you put him if he eventually becomes a tackle, he's got traits to play tackle. He eventually becomes a defensive lineman. He's got the traits to play defensive line. If you just keep him at tight end, he's a unique weapon as a blocking tight end. So
Plank Time says Kent's not a tight end. Get the Iowa kid. It sounds like it's not an either or situation though.
Exactly. I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, with Hezi Kent, we're talking about a +1 jumbo athlete. That they'll take Luke Brewer regardless as the number 2 tight end, and I'd say number 2, not in order of priority, just the second commit at tight end in this class, and then they would take Hezi Kent as sort of a +1 jumbo athlete.
Hey, you see how they're using S.J. Alafatuli this year, who's not ready to really be a center in terms of the snapping stuff, D. But we said it jokingly, multiple times, like, hey, let's get this guy in the backfield. Not even jokingly, we're like, this guy could be an asset.
Yeah, we said it.
For Miami.
We did say it.
Like we really weren't even saying it jokingly. And I think with Kent, Mario is not gonna he's not gonna turn down a guy like this who could be physical blocking, in a certain role. Look at this, man. I'm sorry. I think anyone who watches this and says I don't want to add this guy to the roster, is crazy. And like you said, just get him here. I don't care what we're calling him, a tight end, an extra offensive lineman. I just think he's a piece that you can move around, man.
Yeah, he's somebody. So he's committed to UF, by the way, for those that don't remember that whole process. But UF, obviously, there you go. Look at him in the backfield. We know UF is going nowhere. Napier is going to get fired here after this little run of tough games. So I think Hezi Kent's visiting South Carolina. A lot of schools in the mix there, but this is someone Miami's been recruiting for a while. And I think Cristobal sees a guy like this. Can you imagine this guy next to Jackson Cantwell? That's pretty tough. And then look at the Wildcat. You could do the Caden Proctor play too.
Or even JJ Peggs from he was at Oregon and Ole Miss.
Yeah,
we talked about him a bunch. He got drafted like 5th round this year, but the guy scored like double-digit touchdowns in his career, just lining up on the goal line, getting the snap. So
this guy he really isn't like.
Dude, and go ahead.
Yo, please.
No, I was just gonna say I've said it before, but I give his high school coaches credit too for like. Imagine being a defensive coordinator in high school, trying to worry about what to do with this kid, because they really line him up a bunch of different ways. Like, so lining screens. I'm sorry, man. This is every time I watch it, I'm just more amazed. And this is not the greatest prospect in the world. This is not the greatest football player I've ever seen, but he's so unique that he's such an outlier that I say, let's figure it out, man. Let's get him here and let's figure it out. And like you said, he committed to Florida, but I think some of these Florida guys, man, they're starting to realize that the coaches that recruited them won't be there much longer. So,
yeah. And really the truth is I don't like a lot of their players. So it's not like a feeding frenzy like it might be like a USC, right, where there's a lot of guys in that class that you'd look to add. But I think with Hezzy, that's one that you've been recruiting for a long, long time. So that's a +1 going forward. Next, I want to talk about Iowa State commit Milan Paris. So I'm pulling up the film here. We're switching to receivers now. So this is a tall, very, very talented. Talk about senior film, right? You want to evaluate senior film and get guys on the way up. This dude right here is on the way up. Iowa State commit. Remember, Iowa State, you say, oh, Iowa State. Iowa State put 2 receivers in the NFL last year, including one from Miami. Probably should have been a Cane. Look at this guy at his size and how he moves. Very sudden. I liked his junior film when he first came on the scene. Also a basketball player. But watching the beginnings of his senior film, he's got really, really nice acceleration. There you see the basketball skills. Look at the balance here. Really, really impressive player. 6'5.5", 205 from Stowe, Ohio. He's a 4-star player, so this is not a sleeper we're talking about here. This is a 4-star guy, but I think Miami's in very good communication with him. Again, Iowa State commit, but Miami's the number 3 team in the country, man. As good as Iowa State's been and as good as they've been with receivers, I think this guy, we have talk about flip watch. This would be one I'd put on flip watch. And I mean, Pete, you tell me what you see. I see a guy that really can accelerate.
He's agile for his size. Like it's funny. Mario was talking about Deuce Robinson this morning, and he was saying the thing about Deuce Robinson is he's big, he has a big catch radius, but he moves like a little guy, and that's what I'm seeing with this kid right here. I mean, look, I think Miami obviously wants to add to the class of receiver. I think there could be some shuffling there. I want to know, D. You told us about
that's nice play.
You're letting us know about Milan Paris. Any update on London Madrid?
I love it. Basketball players actually. So Stowe. This is the Akron area. And by the way, we're getting a lot of super chats about like the FSU game. I promise we're gonna get to all you guys. So don't just because we're not answering those questions right now because we're going through the recruiting stuff. We're seeing them. We'll get to everybody's question. Again, appreciate all your support. ECAP. Lord Bacon's and all the usuals. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, man, this is a 4-game highlight, man. This guy is making a lot of plays. 6'9" wingspan. They don't release his testing, but I heard he tested very, very well. 21.3 yards per reception as a junior. We're watching a senior film right now, basketball player.
I'm not sure if it's the same staff. I mean, it's the same head coach. I'm not sure if it's the same receivers coach who had brought in Jaden Higgins to Iowa State, a South Florida kid who was a 2nd-round pick for the Texans. And I saw him score yesterday, but Iowa State, tends to do well. And then who was that other big wide receiver they had years ago? Who was a big body receiver? He was one of the best. Remember they were like undefeated for a while. I'm trying to remember this guy.
Yes.
Didn't Alan Lazard go there too?
Yes,
I mean they've had some good big body receivers under Matt Campbell there. So there's some schools that we tend to talk about that randomly always at certain positions do well at. This is one of them.
Yeah, and again, for the people that love to track stars, the stars are important as we see run block highlights. At least they're at the end of this highlight. You always get worried when the run block highlights are at the beginning of the receiver highlights. But this guy is a 4-star player.
Ooh, I like how he sold that one though. So
Yeah,
you
he
see that
did.
he was like, if I didn't know it was run back block highlights, I would have thought he was running a route there, which at the high school level is very. I mean, you see at the college level, guys don't sell it very well. That's a nice nice thing to put on tape there.
No doubt.
Again, man, he's selling it. Look, he's
Yeah.
he's looking like he's about to go out there and run a route. So
100% keeps
Hakeem
them on
Butler.
their,
That's
on
what I
their
was
back
thinking
heel.
of. Hakeem Butler was who I was thinking of. Thank you guys in the comments. But think about it, man. That's three big body receivers that Iowa State in the last 8 years, 8 years here have hit big on evaluations. So
No doubt. And this is a 4-star player, just to be clear. Like, this is not a guy that's like just a sleeper that is from some farm in Iowa and they're trying to pull up. He's from Akron, Ohio, same place LeBron came from, right, before he came down to Miami. So I think this makes a lot of sense. And I'm hearing there's just really good communication with him. Auburn just offered, Oklahoma just offered. This is one of the best players around at wide receiver. 247 has him as a 21 receiver in the country, number 21 receiver, number 159 overall player. So highly rated guy. But as you watch the senior film, I wonder if maybe he's even better than that. So very interesting player. And I think in general, you are seeing Miami target a lot of these receivers that, number one, are having good senior years, like we talked about, and number two, have that kind of basketball background, have that athleticism, have that twitch and acceleration in the big body, and are not just tall, lumbering guys, but are guys that have legit size and can go. And the other one that fits that profile that Miami's after, speaking of like potential guys they're trying to flip, Pete, I'll let you talk about this guy because I know you love him, is Marquez Daniel, the Gator commit from Alabama.
Yeah, and just on the recruitment, this is long speed, man. I think he's a bit different than Milan Paris, but this is certainly one. I said it a few weeks ago. Billy Gonzalez has we talk about the Gators, but Billy Gonzalez has a nice track record recruiting receiver talent, and I think from what I understand in terms of the recruitment, had a great time on his visit, and really, is thinking about Miami hard now. And it's just a situation where he took his first visit, got to get mom on board, got to get, the people around him on board with the decision, because you just make one trip. It's hard to make a flip like that, but should be getting back on campus here soon. And I think Miami, in a short amount of time, have made some good strides there. I really like how they're it seems like making a concerted effort to add size to that room, though.
Yeah, no doubt. And like size that's athletic, right? You see this guy, he's Sutton, the basketball player. I mean, look at how he was at a dead stop, and look how he accelerated right there. I mean, this guy is big. I mean, look at him. This Tuskegee, Alabama. This is not like totally weak competition here.
Good competition here. Yeah, this is good competition without a doubt. Look at that, going up over two guys there. And look, while these highlights play, I'll bring up this comment from Nick Isaac. He says, how many wide receivers are we taking in this class? I know we like to say it's not an either-or situation, or we'll take them all if they want to commit. That's just never a reality. I think that, yes, it's obviously not a reality, because if one guy commits, then it takes another guy off the board. But I think this could be, you're at 3 commits right now? Yeah. I think you could have 4 or 5 in this class.
Yeah, I totally agree. Look at this. I mean, this guy and Paris are both really, really impressive, man.
I think you could end up having 5 in this class, man. I really do.
Yeah, I think what you see is across the country, I think you're getting more of a trend towards signing a lot of high school guys. You saw USC sign, like, how many of the guys committed? 35 or something like that. Now, Miami's going to be more active in the portal than that. Miami, you saw what they did in the portal this last year and how good they were in their evals and everything else. But I think if Miami's going to say, look, if this guy has what we need from a physical standpoint, if his senior film is up to par, if he is a good kid that we feel good bringing into our locker room, we're going to err. And of course, obviously the budget and everything, we're going to err on the side of signing, because they want to get as many good players as possible, and guys leave. I mean, the portal works both ways. Guys come to Miami in the portal, guys leave in the portal. Keelan Marion is a senior. CJ Daniels is a senior. So there'll be movement out too. So I think that's why you're targeting guys like this, but a lot of big receivers in the mix. A couple other guys to talk about commitment-wise, Samorian Wingo, he's having an incredible senior year. I think he's even better than we thought when he committed. The wide receiver out of St. Augustine, the Miami got 4-star player. Miami got him in the summer, and it seemed like at the time, I'm not saying that's what it was, but it felt like, hey, we lost on some receivers. This is the consolation prize. But he's playing better than most of these guys as a senior, and he's now a top 100 player in the country. So he's nobody's consolation prize. He is a big-time, legit stud. And Miami is ecstatic about Wingo. Tyron Evans, another big guy from Charlotte, similar to these other two that we just talked about, big, tall guy that can get downfield, high yards per catch guy. The fourth 6'5 plus player that we should talk about, Calvin Russell, and he's the one we get the most questions about. ECAP asking, you think Russell will change his choice to UM now that Syracuse season is going down the garbage? So Calvin Russell, I think he's still a 5-star player, committed to Syracuse, Miami Northwestern. Mom is in the Hall of Fame as a basketball player at the University of Miami. Someone that every Canes fan is familiar with since he was a young player because he's local. Another 6'5 guy with a lot of acceleration, similar to the three guys we just talked about with Evans and the 2 videos we watched. But when I asked about him this morning, and I think, but with multiple people, including people in his camp, people on the Miami side, a lot of work on Russell. And the truth is, if anyone tells you they know what's going on with Calvin Russell, they're lying. This is a very fluid situation. It could accelerate fast. I think there is a lot of interest on his end to come to Miami. He's best friends with Malachi Toney. He was here. He's been to a couple games. He's seen Malachi Toney explode as a true freshman. I'm sure he sees a similar vision for himself. He's currently injured right now. So, fluid situation that we'll monitor. But I think all the guys we talked about, if I say who I feel is maybe the one with the most current momentum, and there's varying momentum for all those guys. But I think Milan Paris, someone to keep an eye on as we get here down the stretch. That's a name I would circle. But Marquez Daniels, certainly that process could accelerate real fast. Calvin Russell's process could accelerate real fast. And then you got the 2 commits with some size. The other commit, go ahead.
Well, I just want to make a comment on Russell because the one thing I'll push back on, not that you're saying this, but in the comments, and I've seen this a lot with Syracuse now, their season looks like it's about to go down the drain a bit here. But like, if I'm Fran Brown, is Angeli getting hurt almost not like a huge excuse? You could say, look, before our starting QB got hurt, we had a top 3 passing offense in the country. We just beat Clemson. Like, our QB got hurt. Yes, it's an excuse, but like, if I'm Fran Brown and I have the relationship with the kid that I have, like, I don't know that if they go out and bust this season, and that's going to be the end all be all for him. I think there's other factors like you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I agree with everything you're saying. That's just it's an interesting situation, man. It's a tricky one to watch, and I think it's good to have options. It's good that we're not totally dependent on Calvin Russell as being that big athletic NFL type receiver. We just talked about a bunch, but at the same time, we're in the mix there. And he's a hardworking player. He's extremely athletic. He's a 5-star for a reason. So I think that's someone that we'll monitor. But this receiver position is the one that's got me most excited with all the different names there. Vance Spafford, committed. He's been banged up, but very good player. He visited for the for the Notre Dame game. We talked to him. Just a very good football player. 4.3 on the lasers. A really good player. One name I want to, as we play Florida State here, I need to talk about because we're still in communication with him. And he's going to be at the game this Saturday. And that is Jason Lopez. Jason Lopez, the wide receiver from Chaminade, who committed to Florida State. Really, Miami got Vance Spafford, and then very quickly, I think Jason Lopez moved towards Florida State. But which is by the way, not to cut you off, D, but like going back to the comment earlier of, hey, we hear like they would take both if they like Miami would have taken both if Lopez wanted to commit. But sometimes like a kid makes a decision for themselves that they don't want to end up, going there because they say, hey, they already have a player similar to him in the boat. But that's where like if Milan Paris and Calvin Russell both wanted to commit to Miami today, they are saying yes to both of them. Totally agree.
You know what I'm saying? But then does Marquez Daniels say, hey, I just see they took 2 guys who are the same size as me, similar sort of players. And so that's again, not to cut you off, but I just wanted to use that as a quick example.
I agree totally. And we've been pretty consistent on this one as far as me and you, Pete and Danny.
I don't think the comments agree with this, but
the comments can say whatever they want. We've been saying it. Yeah, he committed to Florida State. At the end, we're still talking to this guy. And what I'll say is I think this guy is one of the best players anywhere, one of the best athletes in the country. And I still think that he's a legit D1 basketball prospect as a point guard. He's dunking in the half court. He's putting up huge numbers. He has for a long time on the basketball court. A lot of these guys play basketball. Samorian Wingo plays basketball. Calvin Russell plays basketball. A lot of these guys play basketball. This guy dominates in basketball.
They aren't legit D1 prospects, though.
Yeah, this guy dominates in basketball. His numbers are stupid. Then at receiver, he had 1,300 yards last year at Chaminade, more than Jeremiah Smith had his junior year at Chaminade. Not that he's better than Jeremiah Smith, but he's extremely productive. Then you go to this year. First game, they play St. Francis, got destroyed. They had a freshman quarterback, Chaminade did, who was still kind of finding his footing in the defense. They lost some talent. They didn't play very well in that game. But that game was on TV, and if you watched it, the best player for Chaminade by far, Derek Cooper had some nice plays, but the best player for Chaminade was Jason Lopez. He was mossing guys. He was catching touchdowns. He was catching third downs. He had over 100 yards, even in that blowout loss. And then since then, it's been blowout city. He had the game-winning touchdown against American Heritage, which was the only close game, that Broward Private School showdown. So, this guy is a real deal player. And if you ask me what I value at receiver, basketball background, I think 31 of the 39 NFL draft picks at receiver this past year had some basketball background. This guy's on the high end of that, the absolute high end of that. Production in high school, because guys that produce at the receiver position tend to do well in college, and if the guys that don't produce maybe get offered on their upside, a lot of times those guys fail. This guy's extremely productive on the football field. He runs great routes. He's a hands catcher. He's strong, and he dominates top competition. So to me, he's not he's not 6'4" like 5 like the other guys, but he's 5'11". He's taller than Restrepo. So to me, this guy is an absolute stud. We always get accused every time we pump up a Latin player of some kind of bias, but I would say between Restrepo, Mendoza, we're talking about these guys for a reason. They're real players. I think Jason Lopez, I'm glad we're still in communication with him. I'm glad he's still on the radar, because I think this guy is going to be an absolute star at the college level.
And I'll say this, there's a lot of comments about the basketball side, about, some people saying that they don't want him because he's too focused on basketball. That I'll say this, not that I have any info, but and Lopez is a different caliber prospect than a lot of guys, but a lot of times guys, their tune changes pretty quickly when they get on campus in terms of what their focus wants to be. That's not scaring me away. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he gets to campus, and because for as much as we say the football coach doesn't want him playing basketball, you think the basketball coach wants him playing football? D?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it becomes a very tough situation. I think he's the caliber of player that he could be a contributor. But again, from what I know, if he comes to Miami, I personally believe that Miami has some other guys that they plan to run the show in terms of the point guard position at Miami. So if he comes to Miami, I would have a pretty strong feeling that the focus is going to be football. That's my hunch.
Yeah. And look,
that's what because I've seen a lot of comments about it that like, oh, I don't want him because he likes he wants to play basketball. I'm not looking at it as a negative, and I think a lot of these guys, their mindset changes once they get there.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not very worried about this guy's work ethic and focus.
At all.
This guy's a 5'11" Cuban guy, and he's dominated 2 sports against good competition. Dominant in basketball. His stats are stupid. I'm trying to pull up his stats from last year, but when he's at True North, which was his sophomore year, he had 1,200 yards on the football field, and he would average 21, 6, and 4 with 3 steals. That was his 10th grade year. I think last year at Chaminade, the stats were pretty similar on both. This guy's a monster. So anyways, whether people like it or not, he's still in the picture. And if you ask me, if this guy goes to FSU, we will hate him, not just because he's at FSU, but because he's making plays for FSU. I do not want this guy in FSU. I don't care they don't throw. We got to get this dude. Anyways, that's sort of my 2 cents.
Fair to say there's some Malachi Tony in him?
Of course it's fair to say. Malachi Toney's smart. He's extremely instinctive. He's highly productive. He can separate. They're about the same size. Say probably pretty similar size. Maybe Lopez is a little bit taller.
Maybe I think Lopez might have him a little bit there, but
yeah, tough. I mean, yes, very similar. And I think both these guys can coexist, and they're really good players. So me personally, I'm extremely happy to hear that this.
Listen, guys, I'll say this. For a guy who doesn't give any sort of credit to anyone when it comes to the rivals, D is holding strong here. He's showing his Cuban Latin alliance is stronger than his Canes hate.
It's the multi-sport, a good route runner, good hands equation, which we've said what we like a receiver. I think Samorin Wingo checks those boxes big time, and I think this dude definitely checks those boxes big time. Switching to the other side of the ball, defensive end, Ashari Charles, who you talked about a ton in your Discord, having a monster senior year. Really like him. He's going to be a big part of this class. DeAnthony Lafayette, the committed to LSU, the undersized defensive end from LSU, but a legit pass rusher, one of the most dynamic pass rushers in the country from the Orlando area. Miami continues to recruit him aggressively. You want to talk about big fish? Tank Jones. We've talked about him. Visited twice. Visited for Florida, visited for Notre Dame. We saw him both times. Great kid. Great size. We saw him in person. He was talking to Fred Taylor while we did the spot at the Lickin'. This guy, he loves the Lickin', by the way. Taylor went to see how good the Lickin' is. The guy came back on his second visit just to go there. He didn't even have any obligations.
That's what I told you, though. Should we be concerned? Is it a love for the licking, or is it a love for the Canes? I don't. That's the only thing that has me concerned here. But no, I'm again. They went to go see him this weekend as well. D on Friday. I'm hearing that went well, but hey, it's like it's almost at a point where I'm like, hey, what do you need to do to get this thing done, right?
Yeah. He's seen Ruben Bain dominate twice in person, and he's seen 2 full houses. So I think those are 2 good things. If you're like him, right, you come down, you had a great experience twice. The player that plays your position has been the best player in college football, period. And the guy who would coach you is a Hall of Famer who's coaching not just Ruben Bain, but Akeem Messidor was one of the best defensive ends in the country. So I think the rap to him couldn't be better. Now he's an Oregon commit. Oregon is ranked 2. Miami's ranked 3. They got good defensive ends too, so they got a good rap too. He's from Mobile, Alabama. I think distance-wise, a little closer, but he's definitely still in the mix. Another big-time player. So these are guys, aside from Charlie Charles committed to Miami. Lafayette committed to LSU. Tank Jones committed to Oregon. Another potential flip candidate, Bryce Perry Wright, Pete. And I want to give you the floor here. This is someone, call him a flip candidate. I mean, this is not something I don't think is imminent or anything like that. But in terms of guys that we're trying to flip, and that I think maybe we're talking to more than people think, it is the Texas A&M commit Bryce Perry Wright. Now Texas A&M is playing really good football as well. But I'll let you talk about this one because I know you've been checking in on Bryce Perry Wright, the 5-star player from Buford, Georgia, 6'2", 250. Very, not saying he's the same player, but a lot of comparisons. I think it's his actual comparison on the 247. Oh no, they compared him to Grady Jarrett, but a lot of people compare him to Ruben Bain, and he's somebody that Miami's got a lot of love for.
Yeah, I reported on the Discord about 3-4 weeks ago that Miami was still kind of circling there. And A&M's had a great start to their season, right? So it's kind of like the Tank Jones thing, right? It's like Oregon's not giving him any reasons to decommit based on how their season's going. But Miami, I think, believes that they were closer to getting him, when he made his announcement than people realized. I don't know if they were like, I guess they kind of thought they were like in second place there. There's going to be a financial factor to it with him that I think A&M has a very strong position in right now to say it pretty openly there. But if Miami can take that swing, and with a guy like him, D, and I say this with James Johnson too. I don't know if you have anything new there. That wasn't someone that we had talked about before the show, but you almost kind of just stay lurking and then at the end make your move, because you get him now and you really have a long ways to go to keep him with in a situation that is going to be a a tough NIL battle there. So, and again, I don't want to sound like the people who were prefacing everything when it came to the Jackson Camel decision, because I'm not saying like that's what it is, but we have to be realistic with the caliber of player that this is and the other programs that Miami, are up against. And in this case, Texas A&M, who's off to a very strong start. And as we know, when you're off to good starts, the boosters like to, keep things that way. And I think that's good, good momentum there. So that's going to be a tough flip. But like you mentioned here, and like I said, almost a month ago now, Miami's lurking there.
No doubt. And we'll talk a little bit about my top 5 teams in the country and kind of get the debate going with some other people's top 5s. I have all 3 of those teams in the top 5, Miami, Oregon, and Texas A&M. So these are not going to be easy flips. Have a new name, Pete, that I want to put on your radar at defensive end. But before we do that, got to put on everybody else's radar, the experts right here in the University of Miami. That is the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. If you consider yourself an athlete or just an active guy, and I'm trying to get active myself and eating too much octopus sitting in the beach in Greece, you probably know how hard it is to sit on the injured list with pain or injury. Maybe you try to hack your own rehab, come back early, or just try to take some shortcuts, go on YouTube. But if compromising your movement and performance is not an option and you want to get back to 100%, not just 90% and have lingering stuff, call the experts at the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. Whether there's a league competition with the University of Miami Athletics or just everyday people like us moving every day, the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute is the trusted choice for those who demand excellence. Set an appointment today at uhealthsports.com. All right, so I promised a new name. So I got a new name for you. Ready, Pete? We need to talk about this one. So a new name for you. Dre Quinn.
We talked about this one.
Oh, we did talk about it. All right, so
yeah,
Dre Quinn, who is a defensive end, committed to Clemson, who just decommitted when here.
I have the highlights coming up now.
Oh, you have them ready? Okay, good.
Yeah,
I'm on top of it. So decommitted on September 25th, 2026. 25. He's a Norcross, Georgia kid. Buford kid. So he's from the Atlanta area. I think it was originally in Norcross, and then he transferred to Buford. So Atlanta area kid. A lot of kids in the Atlanta area getting recruited by the Canes. Clemson's historically done well with these guys, but with the season they're having, there are some casualties, and this is one of them. So this is the highlights before he transferred to Buford. Very, very explosive guy. Two-way player. These highlights are 7 minutes is always a good sign. Plays wide receiver, plays tight end, and also plays edge, as you see him here. Wiry body. The get-off is obvious. Clemson, this guy's explosive, man. Clemson's gotten a lot of these guys and turned them into first-round players. I know their defensive linemen are disappointing this year, but TJ Parker still going to be a pro. So they've lived with guys like this, but man, I like what I see here. I like the two-way ability. I like Atlanta kids in general. I think it's matched South Florida as the best region in the country because South Florida slipped a little bit, although it's going back up, I think. Atlanta's been on fire. We're recruiting a ton of guys from this area. But just with this guy, just the suddenness jumps out. The way he plays jumps out. The two-way ability jumps out. I'm very, very impressed with Dre Quinn. And just decommitted, so this process is starting. Every school in the country. He's ranked as a low 4-star, but his recruitment is much more of just of a big-time SEC player. 6'4", 228. There you see him here on the offensive side of the ball. Nice route. But, yeah, dude, this is – man, look at the speed.
Look at the yard after catch. Yeah.
This is a real guy, man. I would love to get this player. What do you see here when you watch this guy?
No, I love it. I think Coach Woodle might want him on the other side of the ball, though, from what I'm seeing. But no, anytime you get these guys who look at that get off. Oh,
took this handoff.
Yeah, that's like what Ashari Charles is doing at times this year. D.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard that this is someone now. He decommitted a couple weeks ago now, or no, not even 3 days ago. But they've been working on this one for a couple weeks now. So I think the word was spreading that he was kind of getting ready to make that move. And man, these are the new names that emerged. It's still only September here. I wouldn't be surprised to see some more guys continue to pop here in the next month, man.
Yeah, and Miami is doing what they said they're going to do, which is have a great season, right? So if you're man, this guy's a really good offensive player. If you're good comment from D Hux reminds me of Lightfoot frame. I think actually weighs a little more than Lightfoot. But obviously we've seen what Lightfoot's been doing in that boundary edge role. The thing with Miami is, yeah, these guys are decommitting now and you're kind of getting it on now. You're selling the best defensive ends in the country. So you could just say, hey, well, listen, I'll send you the cut-ups from Notre Dame. I'll send you the cut-ups from UF. I'll send you all these articles of people talking about how good.
Frankly, you couldn't, like, you didn't have that the last couple. You couldn't. Brain had a great freshman year, and then last year was what it was with the injuries, and then the D-line just didn't put up great, sack numbers. So very tough to sell that. And it's like what I talked about with Damian Lewis before the year too, because we missed out on some of these big D tackle types is I would love to find this episode I did, but the word in the building before the season was, hey, Damian Lewis is really helping these guys take the next step, these D tackles, helping them mature and find themselves. But he doesn't, as a recruiting guy, is actually a great recruiter, like talking to these guys, but doesn't have any track record to sell on, hey, this is what my D-lines have done, and look, my guys have gone on to. He's a newer coach to the game, right? In terms of the college game, he doesn't have that track record. With what he's doing now, and Jason Taylor as well, you're going to have a whole lot to actually, build upon there.
No doubt about it. And on paper, I mean, these guys also top 10 pick in the case of Damian Lewis, Hall of Famer and taste of Jason Taylor. So they can sell that part of it, and they can also sell what they've done as coaches. So you hit both of them, right? With what they can do, both from a resume standpoint, personal resume, and then the players that they've coached. And all you got to do is turn on the college game day, and you hear them talking about how dominant Miami's defensive ends are. By the way, almost 1,300 on. Appreciate everybody's support, like, and subscribe. Another name, and this is a potential flip candidate he's at Pitt, but somebody in that North Jersey area, close to New York. Larry Miami's done very, very well. Njoku, Greg Olson. I've learned about the difference between North Jersey and Central Jersey, Pete, and South Jersey over the course of time. That North Jersey, South Jersey rivalry. Talked to Mo Torre about it on Storm Sessions. I know we talked about it at Sports Grill not that long ago. But there's a North Jersey kid where Miami's had a lot of success. And I'm pulling up his junior tape, but his senior films, what got people really, really excited, is Logan Nagel. Big boy, committed to Pittsburgh. Obviously one of the better evaluating programs in the country.
Crafty, man.
I saw this guy in person. He is big as hell. He is tall. He is sturdy. He's got great size, man. He could be a defensive tackle when it's all said and done. Not to, I mean, again,
look at the hands. Oh,
and obviously people are going to just say this is a straight racial comparison, but it's really more about the body type. Matt Walters was about this size and ended up being a very good defensive tackle on the national championship team for the Canes. Got drafted by the New York Jets, I think in the 5th round or something like that. Obviously, his nephews, Brian Walters, Andrew Walters, great closers for the University of Miami baseball team. But he kind of reminds me of that, just from a size perspective. He can play defensive end. You see him playing defensive end here. He goes to a top program in New Jersey, in DePaul Catholic. But he is one of those Pittsburgh guys that I think is way better than what his ranking is. And Miami loves everything they're seeing from his senior film, and they think as he gets stronger and bigger, he is going to be exactly what they want on the defensive line. Talk about the culture. Guys that play hard like this, guys that are talented like this, guys that impact the game. You see him on special teams, block kicks. That's obviously a huge part of evaluating someone's explosiveness, get off, motor. It's always a good indicator. Look at this guy chase everything down. He's just he's one of those guys that you're playing Pitt and you're like, man, why do they got this NFL guy causing us problems up front? This is one of those guys, I think.
Well, and from what I was told, and I posted this on the Discord on Friday, Corey Heatherman went out to go see him this weekend, D. So what does that tell you? Heatherman, who doesn't even coach defensive line, he's obviously the defensive coordinator, linebackers coach, but if he's going out to see him, you understand that this is a pretty high priority flip target for Miami at this point.
Yeah, I mentioned Milan Paris is someone who the momentum is going in the right direction. I'd put Logan Nagel in that direction as well, or in that category as well. Both guys committed, right? So Milan Paris committed to Iowa State, Logan Nagel committed to Pitt, but we're the number 3 team in the country, and we're being aggressive here. So keep an eye on Logan Nagel going forward at the defensive line position. Defensive tackle, Anthony Kennedy committed. Big guy. Isaiah Broughton came in on visit. I believe he's was he a Houston commit? He's from Houston. He's committed to. Is he committed to Houston? He's a
UNLV commit.
UNLV, right? So G5 commit, but that's not going to last very long. Very, very big body player. I think Broughton and Kennedy are pretty similar, but those guys are both being evaluated. Kennedy a commit. Tyson Bacon, you reported this on the Discord, suffered an injury. He'll be out for the year. Miami's not dropping him. They love him. I'm told Miami is ecstatic. Ecstatic is and I'm quoting directly. They are ecstatic about Frederick Saint-Dias, right? You talked about him with Steve Kim when he committed. This guy is really, really having an outstanding senior season for St. John Newman. Haitian kid, meaning from Haiti, like born in Haiti, only playing football for a couple of years, throws a shot put, throws a discus, wrestler, plays in a small school on the west coast of Florida, but dominating. His trajectory is straight upwards. I think he's 6'4", almost 290 by this point, 280 something. He is really, really big physically. And I'm told Miami was highly aggressive in getting the player.
Yeah, no, they trust me. The kid told me himself, D, and I had reported this, that he was on his way to Florida State, essentially. Like, he was ready to go in the middle of the week. He was on he had visited Miami for the USF game, and the next week was scheduled to go see Florida State, and that would probably have kept the recruitment open for a little bit longer. But Miami was, like you said, aggressive in getting him to not make that trip and say, "Hey, man, let's get you back on campus here. Let's get you around or back to the game, to Hard Rock." And they were able to get it done, obviously, the following week. So,
yep, and they were aggressive. They wanted to put this one away because they knew every school in the country is going to be after this guy. So that's one of those that you feel very, very good about. Again, still evaluating here. Nolan Wilson, somebody who this from PKU in Mississippi. He's visited a couple times. Miami really likes him. Committed to Alabama. Alabama just had a big win against Georgia, but Miami's continuing to recruit him. So that's one to keep an eye on. James Johnson, originally from Patterson, New Jersey, then he moved to the west coast of Florida, and then he just moved to Miami to play for Northwestern, committed to Georgia, still being evaluated. I was talking to some people around, not Miami people, like Hurricane people around South Florida high school football. Very talented guy, still got some work to do, though, James Johnson. Linebacker, they love J.J. Edwards, who's committed to Miami from Orlando. He was a very talented, high-testing kind of guy when they got him. A lot of upside, cover, rush, sideline to sideline, but he's having an incredible senior year. He was good as junior, but he's taken a step as a senior. So he's somebody he's in a high category, man. I think his rating's gone up. I know 247 Ivans is a big fan of his, so his ranking has gone up a little bit. Where was he? They have him right on the border of 4-star. He's a little lower than that on the composite, but I think on the internal Miami rating, he is extremely high. They love this guy. They think he's got the upside to be a true impact player, not just a depth guy. Like, he's legit 4'5", 4'6" kind of guy who plays fast, can cover, can change directions, can strike. He's going to be big. He's lean on the lean side now, but they project him as like a 220-pound type of guy. A lot of love for J.J. Edwards. Jordan Campbell, he's solid to the Canes right now. Very, very good senior year. Could be a linebacker, could be an edge. I heard Miami's still the same. We're talking about evaluating senior film. I heard Miami's evaluating senior film at linebacker pretty heavily. So there's not to replace these two guys, because I think both those guys they like to keep, and I think that there's no reason to expect they wouldn't keep them, but maybe to add like a third linebacker in the class. Appreciate you, Cliff. Yeah, like and subscribe here. Almost 1,400 on live. But that's linebacker. Defensive back, the names that are committed: Jennings, Jalen Waters, Wyman, Camden Portis. Wyman's you posted his offensive highlights, man. His offensive highlights are spectacular.
I'm telling you, man, he's not the biggest guy in the world. So I mean, I think he's probably more of a nickel at Miami, D. I mean, unless you've heard otherwise, but get him the ball.
Yeah. He's one that we'll see where he lands, but clearly one of the best athletes in the South, right? And he was highly recruited by a lot of schools, 4-star player, was the MVP of one of these big camps that they had. So I think it was the Rivals 5-star camp. He was the MVP of the defensive backs. So a really talented guy. Camden Portis having a good senior year. Nickel, you've talked about him in the work. Corey Redding, really good football player, teammate of Jontavius Wyman. That safety, that's a position to kind of watch going forward. I know Blake Stewart's getting a lot of buzz because he was a guy we recruited really hard, a guy I love who's committed to Clemson from the Atlanta area. I don't think that's far along, maybe as you kind of hoped it would be, right?
I would like for them really, D, and this is a guy that we've talked about a lot, but I saw someone in the comments bring him up asking if we had talked about him. And I don't know if you have any info on this. I have nothing new. I just reached out to the kid now to see if there's anything new. But Jamar Owens, Indiana commit, someone from Georgia, I want to say. But out of all the guys that Miami was circling back on later in the summer, you and I both really, really like this kid. He told me he was planning on coming to a game at some point. I just checked in with him. I don't think he has. Maybe I'm wrong there, but as soon as he gets back to me, hopefully he gets back to me now during the show here. But he's one that's very intriguing to me.
Yeah, we like his highlights. Coming to Indiana, which is a really, really good program that we love how they evaluate players. So that's one to watch. The Joker says Jordan Campbell gives you some Sam Brooks vibes. I mean, Sam Brooks' problem was injuries. It's just his knee was messed up. That was really the issue with Sam Brooks at Northwestern. They both played for Northwestern. I can see the comparison. Jordan Campbell bigger.
Yeah. Campbell has more mass on him. Yeah.
Campbell, when you see Campbell, he looks like a college linebacker. I mean, he's just like, he looks the part. I mean, you could tell when you look at him. He's playing really, really well. I think the biggest difference between Campbell and Sam Brooks is going to be the injury. So hopefully that stays put. One name I didn't mention, who you want to talk about, a name that Miami's getting momentum with. Another commitment for potential flip watch. So we talked about Logan Nagel. We talked about Milan Paris. Here's another one. Lakai Tompkins from IMG, originally from Jackson, Mississippi. Highly productive running back in Jackson, Mississippi. Then you take him to IMG, playing with the big boys, and he keeps on running, man. This is a highlight from this season. All this guy does at 220 plus pounds is make plays. No matter where you line him up, he's a really good defensive player as well. Look at him just jump over this dude. I think this is a player that Miami just loves, the football player, loves the size. Obviously, he's at IMG, which is becoming a pipeline for Miami. Look at him break tackles here. I think from Miami's perspective, it's like, is he a linebacker? Is he a running back? Is he an H-back? What is he? I think this is a situation where Miami's saying, get a really good football player, figure out where he fits, probably start off at running back. And if he can help you at running back, man, he's going to be, you're eventually going to lose Fletcher. So you want to add a pounder. This guy can do that for you. He's just been extremely, extremely productive no matter where he's been. If he moves on defense, I'm sure that running back skill will help him. But bottom line is, everywhere this guy's been, he's been one of the best football players around, and he's 6'2", 220 plus pounds, 6'1", 220 plus pounds. So
yeah, I've heard there's a lot of fans of his in the building for sure, D. And it's interesting because with him, like when his name initially popped, I think the thought was, hey, more of a defensive guy. But as they've watched him and just see him continue to run through some of these defenses, obviously not the high school level, but he's someone that they think can play on the offensive side of the ball. So we'll see. I don't think he's he's not going to be a defensive lineman. So I think it'd be more of a linebacker, more of like a pass rusher. But I don't know. This will be an interesting one.
I said 220. Apparently he's 230.
Yeah,
verified according to Ivans. They said the testing numbers, and I'm very curious what the testing numbers say. They keep these pretty close to the vest. UC report 247 pays a bunch of money for it. I'd love to get my hands on it. I might do that here. I'll try to at least. But apparently he had a high vertical leap, played basketball, ran track. 11.6 as a freshman, which obviously is on the slower side, but he was just a freshman. 11.6 as a freshman for a big guy like that's not crazy. If he can get in that low 11s range at 230, I think that's workable with the way he can move. But his stats are ridiculous. Just if you look at what he did as a freshman, he had almost 1,400 yards, 16 touchdowns. Then as a sophomore, 1,500 yards, 25 touchdowns. I think he was banged up here as a junior, but still had 892 yards, 10 touchdowns, and two-way. He also caught passes all these times. 3 touchdowns receiving as a junior, 3 touchdowns receiving as a sophomore. So he's catching the ball and he's playing defense with big time tackle for loss numbers, big time tackle numbers. Just a really, really, really good football player, really good athlete in terms of the basketball, the versatility, the ability to catch the ball. So ask me some names to keep an eye on. Like if you're a Miami fan, Logan Nagel, the defensive lineman out of North New Jersey, Milan Paris, the big wide receiver, 4-star out of Akron, Ohio, Luke Brewer, the tight end out of Des Moines, who just reclassified 26, and Lakai Tompkins, the big, versatile running back out of IMG, originally from Tennessee. So that's the bank, man. It was a long one, but I think there's a lot to cover here.
Hassan asking about Justice Fitzpatrick. That'll, that they're continuing to work there. That'll be. It's always tough to flip guys from Georgia, but there's some things working in Miami's favor there as well.
Absolutely. So that's the bank. That's the bank. Real quick, I want to get to our next topic here, but before we do that, and I hope that Lakai Tompkins, if he discovers this, he might be a 3-technique defensive tackle because the food is so good. As Islas Canarias Express, our favorite. I was in Greece, great food out there, but I really missed the Dayland Dining Pavilion, the center of international cuisine. And of course, the crown jewel of that dining pavilion, Islas Canarias, 40 plus years serving Miami. Ask any Cuban, they'll tell you this is the best Cuban restaurant in Miami. 7 different types of croquetas, including the award-winning OG ham, and then different variations. So no matter how progressive or how old school you want to get, they got it all here on the menu. Cubaritos, which is all the Cuban flavors, and it's simple to grab and go burrito form if you're on the run. But they got all the classic sandwiches, Cuban sandwiches, medianoche, you name it, pan con lechon. They got all that. Plus, they got bowls, the pastries. They got all the Cuban pastries that you like, guayaba and cheese, tequeños, yuca bites, Cuban coffee, the batido de mamey, which is your mamey or trigo? Remind me, I forget.
I mean, trigo is what fattens you up. I don't necessarily say that that's my go-to. I'm more of a mamey guy, but the trigo is serves its purpose.
Well, you got all those options there at Islas Canarias Express. All right, so I said I'd get to these comments, so I didn't forget you guys. I just wanted to wait till we finish recruiting. The super chats. Lord Bagington, appreciate your support. Says, I don't think this game will be close. Our trenches are superior compared to FSU. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a massive advantage in the trenches. FSU's ran the ball well, so their run blocking has gotten better, but I don't think they faced a front that's as good against the run as Miami. Alabama, to me, is a lot softer than Alabama teams we've seen in the past, and they got jumped in that game too, so they didn't even play that well. But in general, they don't really run and stop the run like they used to. More of an offensive team, more of like what you saw with Kalen DeBoer in Washington. So I think it's going to be a major, major shock to FSU system trying to block guys like Ruben Bain, David Blay. And then, of course, our offensive line against their defensive line, huge advantage. So I agree with Lord Baconton there. Whether it's close or not, I think it's going to depend on our mindset and just avoiding the first day on the road rivalry game type of things, which is why I think you see people like the Bear, people like Josh Pate think it's going to be a close game. They've been following college football for a long time. They know the emotional factors, the first game on the road, all that kind of stuff, coming off a tough loss. Those things favor FSU, but I think roster favors us big. ECAP saying, can't wait for this week. Just got on. How do you feel about this week? Thanks for what you do. Appreciate you, ECAP. Yeah, I mean, I've said it a few times. Pete, I want to get your thoughts because I've said this a couple times already. I think if we play with the same emotion, running to the ball, swarming with violence on the road that we have done through 4 games at home, and they're going to overwhelm FSU. And we've seen this happen in college football a ton of times, FSU comes out desperate after a tough loss. The home crowd is charged. They have some early success. Miami maybe a little rusty coming out the bye. Maybe a little, shell-shocked is probably the wrong word, but just taken aback by that initial road experience like you saw with Bama in the first game. Then it's going to be one of those rivalry games, man. So it's going to depend on off-the-field stuff and just kind of mentality stuff, I guess is a better way to say it. But in terms of the football matchup, I think Miami is way better, and I think that Florida probably had more talent than FSU. And I didn't think Florida had a ton of talent compared to other teams. How do you see this one?
Yeah, I think Miami fans maybe are a little bit more confident based off what you saw against Virginia. Also understanding, though, I think that Virginia's offense is better than maybe we give them credit for on the outside. I'm a fan of Morris, and they've had a nice start to the season there. I just still think that Florida State offensively is going to be able to do some things against Miami that maybe catch them off guard. I know that's not what everyone wants to hear, but I think in these rivalry games and a lot of the misdirection stuff that they do and stuff that you have to stay disciplined with, Miami can have a phenomenal performance defensively, but still give up a couple big plays here, which is, I think, what keeps Florida State around in it. But yeah, that's my initial thought, is that their speed is going to be a lot to deal with.
Yeah, they can make big plays. And
I'm a believer in Malzahn. So yeah, I'm not saying I'm a believer in Castellanos for a full 4 quarters, but if you're gonna ask me, hey, do you think Florida State can do some things against Miami? I think they can have some explosives against Miami and make things interesting.
Yeah, and it would be like Alabama, where they kind of jump on you and have you playing from behind, right? They jumped on Alabama. Right. I think if that game was 6 quarters, Alabama probably wins that game. But games are not 6 quarters, and they lost.
Yeah.
So that's a real thing, and I agree with you.
And that's not to say, I think Miami could still win this game, handily by a few scores, but like, that's not to say that there won't be a scare in Miami, because even like none of these games, Miami hasn't had to play number one from behind really, or like with a sense of, other than, I mean, look, you had to score a couple, you had to score in critical possessions against Notre Dame, against Florida, obviously, to put the game away, but there hasn't been that same pressure throughout the course of the game. It's been a late game sort of thing, right? You've been you've had to be very efficient offensively, and that has to remain the same here. But you're gonna have to get some explosives as well in this one. I think. I think that to match what Florida State's going to do on the other side, we want to stay running the ball and being consistent there. But I think that you got to have some big plays on our side as well to match that energy.
Green Run Baptist Church. Remember when D-Money picked you up to score 28 against Miami's defense? Yeah, obviously that didn't happen. They put up less yards than Bethune-Cookman. I thought Lagway was going to come out firing and play the best game of his life, and that obviously didn't happen. So we saw what happened. So glad to be wrong on that. I'll take that one all day. FSU, similar in that my concerns are things that have nothing to do with the football matchup and everything to do with the flow of college football, having watched it for pretty much my entire life and seeing these stories play out with superior versus inferior teams on the road again and again and again. So those are my concerns. Before we finish up here, we got 1,500 on live. I want to get to my top 5 football teams in America right now. I want to get your thoughts and also the chat's thoughts. Just a disclaimer, and I post this on CanesInsight.com, which if you haven't signed up, how many posts do we got right now? Let me check actually before I give you a number. So we got a bunch. 7.6. Glad I checked. 7.6 million posts and counting. But I did my top 5 teams in America. So a couple things. Number 1, I didn't do like resume rankings because this is a long season. It's early. I just kind of want to say who are the teams I think are the 5 best teams if they played tomorrow, right? Based on their current form and the way they're built. If I had to win a game tomorrow, who would be my top 5 teams? So that's how I did it. So it's not a resume ranking. There's not like a poll ranking. This is just who do I think are the top 5 teams right now and going forward. Number 1, Ohio State. They're the defending champs. I think you got to give them some respect just for their culture and their consistent winning tradition and putting them number 1. Very balanced team. Really impressed with how quickly they rebuilt their defense. Arvell Reese, number 8. We talked about him on prior shows. Pete, I think he's going to be like a top 10 type pick. Really, really talented edge guy. They really reloaded fast for a team that lost a lot of guys. Name I want to put on the radar. I don't know if you saw him this weekend, Pete. Bo Jackson, the true freshman running back for Ohio State, man. He looks like he'll be a star for them. CJ Donaldson is good, the Hialeah transfer versatile weapon. But
I'm very familiar with Bo Jackson. He transferred to me in my college football dynasty in year 2. He wasn't happy with his playing time at Ohio State, so he came up to upstate New York and played for me at Syracuse, man. Go Orange.
Go, there you go, your squad. But yeah, he's a stud, man. I'm really impressed with him. Julian Sain, I mean, the thing with Julian Sain to me, and let me know what you think about Julian Sain now that you've seen it, because I've made my opinion pretty clear. I think the guy's very smart. He's an accurate passer. He's a natural passer. He's going to put up 5 touchdowns against the Rutgers of the world. But I don't see a guy that when it's like the hardest of the hard games, most difficult game, He's got great physical tools. I see average size to below, average athleticism below, average arm strength to below, good, very good accuracy, very good anticipation. And he's smart, but he's not experienced either. So you have not experienced, not overly toolsy. I view him as sort of the weak link of what's very balanced Ohio State team.
He's got some Kyle McCord in him. I mean, he's further along at this point than Kyle McCord was when he was at Ohio State, I think. And I think he's probably a little bit better than McCord. But I agree with you. I think you get to the playoffs and not even just the playoffs. We'll see here now in the heart of the Big Ten now once they get into it. But like, what am I tripping about?
Oh, because you were saying go Qs. They're talking about NCAA football in the video game. Yeah. Your dynasty.
Whatever. Basically, I lost my train of thought, so whatever. But
you made McCord, which I think is a good one.
I don't think he's athletically. You get to you face some of these teams where he's gonna have to break some tackles and get outside of the pocket, and it's not gonna be a clean situation in front of him. Then I will, I'll make more of a judgment then. But I tend to agree with you. Now, that's not to say they can't go very far with him at quarterback with what they have.
Yeah, no, they're number one for a reason. If you're throwing in Jeremiah Smith and you got Carnell Tate and all those guys, especially with the offensive line looking pretty good and the running game coming along with losing your two studs that they did last year, Ohio State's there'll be a factor, man. Oregon, obviously big win over Penn State at Penn State. I love Dante Moore. We both like Dante Moore. We talked about him. I think he looks like a future first rounder. Probably should stay another year. I don't think he should be a guy that's looking to leave this year, but he's going in the right direction. He's got a ton of tools. I thought he performed very well in this game. What jumped out to me, they also have a lot of true freshmen at running back, which we thought would be Mekhi Hughes out of Tulane. He ended up not doing anything. But this guy's the one doing his thing. What I would say is Oregon's offensive line is better than I thought it was, or at least I didn't know what it was because they had transfers from smaller schools, and those guys have delivered. So, that was a big test for them against Penn State's defensive line with Dennis Sutton and all the talent that they have, Zane Durant. And I think Oregon passed that test with the offensive line, which is a good sign for them. Good defensive ends with the two Poly kids, including how do you pronounce his last name, number 10? DJ's brother.
Uiagalelei.
There you go. He's a good player. So, solid team. And I think they passed the test and showed what they needed to show. Miami, I think they're as good as anybody, for most complete team in the country. I just need to see it because I've seen too many losses to inferior opponents over the years. I just more of a wait and see ranking, but they definitely can play. And then to me, Miami's a very complete roster with the experience of quarterback, running game, all the stuff we talk about. 4 to me is the one I want to get your thoughts on, Pete, because to me, there's a lot of SEC teams kind of clustered together. There's not that dominant SEC team that we've seen in the past, at least not early. So it's kind of weird. You get 2 Big Ten and an ACC before you can get to the first SEC team. And by the way, it's the same thing in the real rankings. So this is not just me. But of all these SEC teams, the one that catches my attention the most right now is Texas A&M, the Aggies, with your boy Mike Elko. I think really, really good coach, defensive-minded coach. Marcel Reed, the quarterback, dual threat, better than I thought. I like his decision-making. He seems like a winner to me. I like him between the years. I wasn't sure. And now seeing him, I like what I see. They really load up on playmakers on the outside with Casey Concepcion from NC State, Mario Craven from Mississippi State. They're making big, big plays with those guys, so they're very explosive. Their offensive line is the best in the SEC. They can run the ball with power with Moss. Owens gives up some speed. Amari Daniels, the veteran from Miami Central, he can make plays as well. Their defense is going to be good with Elko. I think it's getting better and better. Schedule's incredibly hard. They got a tough little stretch here with Mississippi State, UF, and then at Arkansas, some teams that could surprise you if you're not ready. And they got to go at LSU, at Missouri, at Texas. But if they can get through that with enough wins to make the playoff, I think they're going to be a pretty tough team. So, what do you see with Texas A&M?
Yeah, I agree. I like Elko. I mean, it's kind of like they kind of mirror Miami in some ways, the way that they can win. And I think he's built something based on, it's you want to say what you want to say what you want to say about Texas A&M in terms of they got the oil money and they've got big money going on over there and they can spend to win a lot. But at the same time, I don't think it's built on I think it's built on real stuff. You see the trenches, you see defensively what Elko has turned them into pretty consistently here And I think Marcel Reed can win you a lot of games.
Yeah, and probably the best win of the year going to Penn State's a good one for Oregon, obviously. Ohio State, Texas, that's a big win. Miami beating Notre Dame's a big win. I think Texas A&M going to South Bend and beating Notre Dame, huge, huge win. Speaking of Notre Dame, my number 5 team, and this is not resume. This is who do I think is the 5th best team in the country today. I'm going with Notre Dame. And again, maybe controversial, but just watching them, and I was on a plane, so I couldn't switch channels. So I sat and watched every snap of that game against Arkansas. I don't know, man. They're a team that they're going to have a tough time making the playoffs now because they don't have any resume building games left on the schedule. It's a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way. So who do they beat to kind of catapult into that playoff picture? But I think they're going to be smoking teams the rest of the year, and they're going to be 10-2 on fire when the season ends. CJ Carr looked awesome against Arkansas. I thought he looked awesome against us. They put up points against Texas A&M. I like CJ Carr a lot. He, to me, is, as far as those young quarterbacks, he's been the most impressive guy with Arch or whoever. CJ Carr has been the best young quarterback of that non-draft eligible class. Really, really impressed with what he's done and the way he's progressing. They have receivers. Their offensive line got smoked by Ruben Bain and Messidor, but they're good against pretty much everybody else. Their running backs, again, Miami shut them down, but I think Jeremiah Love and Price are real deal running backs. I think Jeremiah Love is the best running back in the country, at least the most talented, most dangerous running back in the country. Canes fans disagree, but he scored 4 touchdowns last week. I think you're going to see that throughout the rest of the year. And then defensively, D-line's not great like it's been in the past, but I think it's good enough. Trore's really coming along strong, that number 5 who had a great game against us. Bryce Young will be there. And then linebackers, I think they're back 7. They're linebackers and safeties, and corners are as good as anybody in the country. So I think there's a team that, right now, what are they, 2-2? Nothing crazy. But I think they're going to win the rest of their schedule pretty easily, and you're going to be looking at them just like last year. At the end of the year, hey, this is one of the best teams in the country. So a lot of people said Ole Miss should be here, which on resume would be the case. They're top 5 team based on resume. I don't know, man. And I bet against them I picked against them. I was 2 for 3 on my picks on the Mike Ryan show. The show we do with Mike Ryan on Wednesday. And I was wrong on Ole Miss. I thought LSU would beat him. I was wrong. So maybe I'm just have blinders on with Ole Miss. But I don't know. They lost so many good players last year. They didn't make the playoffs last year. I just don't trust them yet. But they're running the ball well.
Also brought in like 35 transfers. So I will caution you to say that it's kind of like when I hear people talk about Miami's defense. Oh, last year the defense was so bad. How can they be improved by that much? That's the only thing I'll say. There's a whole lot of new faces there.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that's kind of the story with Ole Miss, right? You always getting new faces in there. But I just think
what a coach Lane is, man. I really hope he doesn't go to UF, man. I think he's a heck of a coach.
Yeah, no, and maybe he takes that Chambliss with him.
And D, let's not to go on a tangent here about it, but when you talk about Lane and you talk about any coach, right? The question is going to be, can he go win a national championship? Can he win the big one? I don't know if anyone ever knows that question for any coach. They said about Ryan Day forever, right?
Everybody. Dabo Sweeney.
Can you be in the mix? Can you be in the mix every year for me? Can you win? Can you win me double-digit games a year? Can you win me 9 to 11 games a year that you're in the conversation? That's all. That's if I want to coach, and Lane Kiffin's going to do that for you. And if he goes to UF, I think he'd do that.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Pete. The win the big one thing I think is overrated. You think about Dabo. That was always the thing with him. Ryan Day very recently. You always see that kind of stuff. So I'm not too concerned with that. I'm more concerned with the fact that they didn't make the playoffs last year with that incredible roster. They probably had, if we go back and look, the 2 best rosters last year were Ohio State and Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss's whole team went to the NFL. So that's something that I'd keep an eye on.
Well,
but
what would you say about Miami though this year? Obviously, it's a different defense, but if you're a prognosticator, you say Miami they didn't make the playoffs with Cam Ward last year, so how are they going to make it this year? That's
why they're number 3 on this list and not number 1. Because I do worry about that too. if I'm being
But
honest.
I'm just but that's what I'm saying. Like that's in terms of the Ole Miss argument. That's the only thing I would say.
Yeah, I think the other that's true. And then the other thing with Ole Miss is I want to learn more about their players. LSU has struggled a bit this year, so I want to learn more about these players on Ole Miss because I don't know them as well because they did get a lot of transfers, but they didn't get like LSU. All the guys LSU got were guys that we saw play prominent roles on their prior team. Like we knew a lot about them. Ole Miss's transfers I know less about. Right. But they've done such a great job evaluating portal guys that maybe we just need to get them the benefit of the doubt. So I could see Ole Miss in this.
I'll say here, Steven asking if Bama loses to Vandy again. I'll say this, man. I think Bama rolls this weekend, and watch out for Bama, man. Everyone was riding Kalen DeBoer off. That guy's won everywhere he's been. I think maybe culturally wasn't, the perfect fit, but he needed a little bit of time to put his stamp on this thing. And week 1 was horrible, but I think they might go on a little run here, D.
And like when you look at my top 5 here, Alabama's one that they certainly have a case that they should be here. Got jumped by FSU early, but had a huge win on the road against Georgia. They were a very talented team. I think Ty Simpson's playing well. You said it about DeBoer. He's won everywhere. And I think the good thing about Alabama is that they're starting to look like a Kalen DeBoer team. I would say the bad thing about Alabama is they're starting to look like a Kalen DeBoer team. I don't see them running the ball or establishing the run with any kind of consistency, and I don't see them stopping the run at all. FSU ran all over them in the first game. This last game, Georgia completely dominated the run game. Really, Georgia should have won the game when you look at how they dominated the run game and stopped the run. I think Alabama had a better quarterback. They just executed better in the passing game. But that's, to me, Alabama. They're much more like a Washington team than Alabama team, which Alabama has always been built on run the ball, stop the run. Now I think really good passer with Ty Simpson, who's coming into his own. Really good receivers, maybe the best receivers in the country, along with Ohio State. They might be better than Ohio State when you think about Ryan Williams, how good he is, Jeremy Bernard, how good he's doing. Isaiah Horton's making plays. So the passing game there, the offensive line, I think, has improved since the FSU game, but it's still not as good as it should be. Certainly not in the running game. But that's why Alabama's not there, not stopping the run, not running the ball enough. But you can make the case. So, Pete, I'm curious. I know I kind of dropped this on you, so I don't want to ask you early. I want to give you some time to think about it. And you can put them in order. You can not put them in order. You give me just a list. Who do you think are the top teams right now based on what you've seen?
Oregon, Ohio State, Miami, A&M, and Bama.
All right, so we're pretty similar there. It's really just the Bama versus Notre Dame thing, which I could see. I mean, I kind of went on with Notre Dame. CJ Carr.
I'm a Ty Simpson guy, man. I think he can rip that thing. I mean, we another guy that we talked about at Group Chat Sports. I think you were a Keelan Russell believer just because you were betting on the talent. And look, you bring in the number 1 QB in the country. It's rare that those guys sit. I mean, Bryce Underwood also, them two were head to head there. But I'm a Ty Simpson believer. And I think I'm riding him to if I'm Bama, like, yeah, the run game isn't what it was, but you've got some dudes on the outside there. You got a nice O-line in terms of the pass protection. Steven Posada said, because I said that DeBoer wasn't culturally a fit. I said he said, Pete, that's code for he's not Southern enough. Listen, Manny Diaz was not a cultural fit at Miami, and he's Cuban. So what does that tell you?
It's true. Half Cuban. But yeah, Ty Simpson's playing really, really good, man. To me, what's interesting, and I'd love Miami to get involved in this. I don't know if the timing makes sense because I think we're going to be going more for a veteran. Is Ty Simpson's got another year of eligibility, and the way he's playing, I can't imagine him going anywhere. I think he's much more likely to stay at Alabama next year.
He seems like a Bama boy, man.
Yeah, I'm
talking about cultural fit. I don't know, man.
No, I'm not saying we're going to take Simpson. I think he's going to stay there. So I think Simpson, to me, some people talk about him maybe going pro this year. I don't see that. I think that'd be a big mistake. He needs reps. But let's say Simpson, as a redshirt senior, comes back to Alabama, which you would think makes a lot of sense if he keeps playing in this way. Be a read the Cuban comments in the chat. Be a Heisman candidate, Ty Simpson. If you're Keelan Russell, do you kind of free up in the portal? Is that something that Miami can get involved in or someone get involved in? Because I think Keelan Russell can be really, really, really good with a good team around him. So if Keelan Russell stays I think Ty Simpson stays. I can see Keelan Russell potentially maybe going to the portal. A lot of these teams signed blue chip 5-star quarterbacks last year. This was a great year at quarterback last year. Some of these guys aren't playing. Tavian St. Clair at Ohio State behind Julian Sain, who's a redshirt freshman. That's another one to keep your eye on. There's more. I know Zollers at Missouri, another one. So there's some very talented, big arm, talented dudes that if I'm Miami, maybe I'm not getting them to start next year, but if you can be like a Dante Moore situation where you put them on the bench for a year and then they end up being stars, there's going to be guys available. I'm not saying Keelan Russell, if he leaves, he probably wants to start right away, but I'm monitoring these 2025 quarterbacks, man, because there are going to be guys coming available. I think it's going to be a very active portal market, not just with the veterans that have played well, but with some of these young guys that want to play.
I'm going to make one switch. So, and Kyle disagrees with me about Bama being a top 5 team. I think it's kind of like more like yours where you had Notre Dame there. Like I'm more projecting, like I think if these teams played today, like this is and I think that's what Josh Pate does too when he has some of those crazy rankings. But I will make one, and shout out to Just Jay for including them in his top 5. I will make one switch. I'll put Bama at 6 and I will put Indiana at 5 because I'm a huge Indiana believer. We're big Mendoza guys. I think they can win games in a variety of ways. Like I'm not saying they're going to win shootouts, but they can put points up. We saw them put a bunch of points up against Illinois. We saw them win, a grind fest this weekend. And Cignetti is a heck of a coach, man. The schedule's going to get tougher here, but I was looking at their schedule the other day. If they can split one of, they have Penn State at Penn State and have at Oregon. Yes, very difficult place to play, but I think they can win one of those games. At Oregon's gonna be very difficult to me. I think they can win at Penn State though. But if they split those two, man, and win out, you're in the playoff.
Yeah, no, they're in, and their schedule outside of those two teams is pretty easy. Michigan State, is not very good. UCLA stinks. Maryland has signs of life, but they're not very good. Wisconsin stinks. Purdue stinks. So even if you lose those two games, you could be 10-2 with a top 10 win over Illinois, top 10 at the time. So, yeah, I'm with you. I like Indiana a lot. I think they're a good team. I think they can run. I think they have experienced receivers with Surratt having that long touchdown. They won a gut check game against Iowa on the road. I think that game, maybe it wasn't a ranked win per se, but it was a very, very good win given what Iowa was doing to them physically and hitting Mendoza a lot. He made some good throws in the face of pressure. It was an ugly game and an ugly win, but that's a very impressive win, I think, at Iowa. They obviously destroyed Illinois the week before. So, yeah, I think Indiana, they play Oregon next after a bye. So that's going to be a very, very interesting game to watch. They needed that bye. They were beat up by Iowa. That's at Oregon. It's in Eugene. I like Indiana, man. We both liked them coming out of the portal season. They They brought back Surratt. They brought back their left tackle. Their offensive line generally came back. They brought back some of the guys they brought in from James Madison that were key to their defense. They brought back their corners between Pons, all these other guys. So they brought back a lot of guys, and they added in the portal between Mendoza, Hemby, you name it. Tight end, what's his name? The kid from
Stays.
Yeah, so they added guys. They added Coogan on the offensive line. So they're a team that is not only retaining and coaching the guys that they have and developing, they are aggressive in the portal as well. It's a good combination. They can run, they can throw, they can protect, they can play defense. I'm with you. I wouldn't put them, like if Indiana played Notre Dame, I'd bet on Notre Dame, but they're playing ball, man. I can't say anything when it comes to Indiana. Steve saying Indiana barely beat Iowa. That was a tough game, man. That was a packed house on the road. They were hitting Mendoza. They were playing great defense. They've been one of the best defensive programs in the country. I mean, Iowa doesn't suck. Those are hard games to win. And when you win those games, I think you get a nice little boost. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they play against Oregon. It's on the road, but I wouldn't write them off.
Joel Warren says Cignetti's going to be on the move after this year. He's going to be on everyone's wish list. I would not want him to go to Florida. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, no. Definitely not.
Win a lot there.
Definitely not. Kyle asking, who wins this weekend, Notre Dame or Alabama on a neutral field? I think it'd be a high-scoring affair is what I think it would be. That would be a high-scoring game. It'd be like a 41-40 type of game.
305 Shaman asking, who would you rather play at Oregon, Ohio State in a playoff? Are you asking about the matchup or like who I would actually, want the Canes to play against. I would love an Ohio State matchup. The Oregon one would be very intriguing because of the Mario aspect of it. And that their fans are not Mario guys. So that, and I feel like you give Mario a little extra added motivation. It's going to be, that would be a heck of a matchup, but I would go Ohio State if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah. I would be more afraid of Ohio State just because I think the caliber of defensive player they're recruiting is better than Oregon. I mean, both high level, but I think Ohio State's got some monsters on defense. And the way Bo Jackson's running, Jeremiah Smith factor, there really are 5 players every year that are just different than everybody else. Cam Ward being one of them for us last year. Ruben Bain this year. Jeremiah Smith this year. There's a couple guys that are just so good. They can be difference makers. And we mentioned it, Pete. We talked about, Dade County kind of coming back, man. Kind of coming back a little bit. Dade County. We got Jeremiah Smith, who played in Broward, but he's a Dade County guy, Miami Gardens. Best player of the country, in my opinion, on offense. Ruben Bain, best player in the country on defense. I think everybody would agree on that one, or pretty much everybody would agree. And then Mendoza, he's a candidate to be a top 10 type pick. So Dade County starting to creep back a little bit. It was down.
Steve-O Swaggins says, when are y'all going to talk about the Canes? My brother Steve-O, Mr. Swaggins, if you're just joining us now, we spoke about the Canes for the first about hour and 20 minutes here of the show. So if you rewind a little bit, you'll find that. I appreciate you finding the stream. We're almost 1,700. Actually, no, we are at 1,700 live viewers here. The longer we go, D, we get new faces in the chat and all that. So welcome.
And a lot of people talking about, Steve-O is obviously entitled to his opinion, but a lot of people talking about, like, the comments go crazy when we talk about other teams. So I know we're trying to incorporate that a little bit more towards the end, just talking about college football in general, because, man, we watch a ton. Never watched more college football in my life with my new schedule. So I like talking about this, like hearing what the chat has to think. It's a lot of fun. So appreciate everybody joining us. Over 1,700 on. Yeah, like and subscribe. Want to talk about a very, very cool opportunity here, Pete, which is everybody likes to play games on their phone. Everybody does that when they're bored some way or another. You get with KashKick.com. It's KashKick. You get all kinds of games available on your phone, all in one place, whether it's fishing games, puzzle games, RPGs, sports, just straight, Scrabble. There's a million different types of games you can get on your phone with KashKick.com. And here's the cool thing. With the Play It Forward program, you not only play the games altogether, you earn money, which is with every KashKick program. You earn money while you play. This is totally legit. 1.5 million downloads plus 4.5 average rating plus on the podcast app, number 4 lifestyle app in the country. So it's all legit. You make extra money on the side while you play these games, which is amazing. Then on top of that, with the Play It Forward program, American Cancer Society receives donations from the money you're earning. So you earn money, and then those dollars get matched with donations to the American Cancer Society. So this is the rare win-win-win. You play fun games, you make money on the side, and then someone else donates money to the American Cancer Society. Win-win-win. KashKick, KashKick, in the App Store.
Big week ahead for us, D. I think we have a Mon tomorrow, correct?
Oh, yeah. So that'll be fun to break it down. He's got no love for FSU. He knocked them out pretty good.
Yeah, we got me and him. He was on with me on Friday, and we got into it a little bit there, but excited to kind of get into it in more detail with him.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun.
Because that was before they lost to Virginia, so I know he'll have some thoughts.
And I'll be rocking some gear this week, particularly at the game. If you want to get T-shirts, you want to get ready to either attend the game or just watch at home or just load up your wardrobe, MiamiHTS.com. Use promo code INSIGHT20. Get 20% off your first item at the Miami Hurricane Team Store. It's across the street from the University of Miami, or online, MiamiHTS.com. They had Ruben Bain there the other day signing autographs. Ton of great events. It is the center of Miami football life right there across campus. But you can't get there in person, MiamiHTS.com. Promo code INSIGHT20, 20% off your first item. Long show today, Pete, but there's a lot to talk about, man. I missed you. I had to get my thoughts and hear your takes. It's been too long.
Yep. It's should be an exciting week here. Excited to get this thing rolling, man. Are you going to Tallahassee?
I'm scheduled to. We got a lot of kids sports that weekend, so I'm trying to figure some stuff out. But yes, I think that's the plan.
Got a question here from Canes Cat C305, D.
Oh, my guy. Yes, we are going live for El Big League Show. I think at 3 today. So it'll be a little later today, talking playoffs, talking the season, the El Big League Show, EL Big League Show with my man Adrian Lorenzo, former MLB exec, 2-time World Series champ. So if you want to hear real in-depth baseball talk, playoffs starting, a lot of exciting matchups on deck. Tomorrow we get rolling. Go to YouTube, El Big League Show, EL Big League Show. Got a great show today, and we got a ton of videos from all those shows. High-level insight, and MLB executive-level insight on El Big League Show. We got a lot of fans that watch both shows, so appreciate you, Canes Cat, Brandon, all the guys from the El Big League Show chat. But, yeah, on at 3 today.
All right, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, everyone. Go Canes.
Go Canes.